We research all the species that we harvest.
Indigenous groups, including Inuit, First Nations, Sami, Maori, and even Colombian Kogi, attended and spoke in nearly 200 simultaneous panels at the 3-day October Arctic Circle Assembly on the volcanic shores of Reykjavik.
This atlas highlighted a lot of beautiful drone imagery like we can see here. And this is, of course, one of the main landmarks. This is Iñupiat Pingo from the Parks Canada Pingo Canadian Landmark from Tuktoyaktuk.
As a way to be more accessible, Canada's Dustin Whalen and Norway's Tina Schoolmeester launched the new Arctic Permafrost Atlas here as a way to shine an international spotlight on what's underneath the ground and becoming exposed.
This project here was kind of one of the major end results, first of its kind atlas where world-renowned and world-leading scientists in permafrost put that knowledge together to try to understand not only how the permafrost impacts at the local level, but at the global level as well, but with mind of the Indigenous people that live there. Jesse and the others, in the other quotes that are in the atlas, on really how the permafrost has impacted their lives.
The international effort under Germany's Alfred Wegener Institute for Polar and Marine Research maps out and exposes permafrost in Antarctica, Russia, Alaska, and Canada's Arctic, including Tuktoyaktuk, Palatuk, and Aklavik.
The main goal of the whole atlas was also not just to make this atlas and to have it as a coffee table book, but also to make permafrost and permafrost thaw much more noticeable. It doesn't only store carbon, it also stores a lot of pollutants and pathogens. So we think that, and it's there's still a lot of uncertainties around how this will be released. It's also a call for action.
This image highlights some of the ponding of water that happens around this airport structure, so that it kind of exacerbates or increases permafrost thaw in this region. But what's interesting and what's important for us and the entire Nunataria team about dealing with communities like Palatuk, Tuktoyaktuk, and Aklavik is this is of community concern. This specifically in Palatuk here, there's been expressed by the Hamlet and the Hunters and Trappers Committee that they are concerned about coastal erosion. They are concerned about thawing permafrost, and they need answers. And there is not a lot of research for the community of Palatuk in particular.
Whalen and his Inuvik colleague Deva-Lynn Pokiak of the Hamlet of Tuktoyaktuk spoke on a panel on the importance of supporting local monitoring. They were also featured in the Assembly's premiere screening by BBC Natural History's Interact, Disappearing Homes, showcasing the erosion of the Beaufort Sea hamlet. They will be taking the map to the upcoming December COP28, the world's highest decision-making body on climate issues, to be held in Dubai.
If only 1/4 of the Greenland ice sheet melts, it could lead to a 2-meter rise in sea levels.
People got the power.
Can you hear us calling?
Can you hear us calling?
Getting stronger by the hour.
Many of the youth attending and speaking at the assembly took time Friday afternoon to demonstrate their frustrations of leaders not doing enough.
We heard from the UAE, United Arab Emirates Sultan and Climate Minister, who are going to be leading COP28 in 41 days. And 3 different people had to stand up and ask, are we going to end fossil fuels? And what did they say? They said a whole bunch of words that meant nothing. They said a whole bunch of words that meant no.
Iñupiat Alaska's Zoe Okleasik, who also spoke on a panel on youth engagement and leadership, joined in as they were pushed out into the rain.
It matters a lot to me. I actually lost my grandfather due to the changing ice. He went out ice fishing, and usually where the sea ice is strong, it was weak that year. And that was in 2015. That same year, a lot of people lost their crab pots. So a lot of people went hungry before summertime. So It's hard to talk about, but it's important to talk about as well too. Getting ourselves to share stories is super important. It's our way to get heard.
When genocide is happening, we need to be vocal about it. These past few days have been so hard. Seeing what's been happening in Gaza.
I feel like we could be getting more youth voices in panels and plenary sessions, just because our voices are so important, especially as Indigenous youth. So hopefully next year seeing more youth engagement, which I know Arctic Circle Assembly has been working on getting better at every year.
We're facing a crisis in the Yukon where our salmon stocks are really declining, and this is what extinction looks like. It is very, very frightening.
9 of the 33 communities in the Northwest Territories were evacuated. That's 70% of our population that was evacuated in just over the span of 3 days. It started on Sunday with the communities of Fort Smith, Hay River, and Enterprise.
A focus on the Arctic wildfires brought the mayor of Yellowknife speaking on the capital's evacuation, and Gwich'in Council International co-chair Edward Alexander on the need of Indigenous knowledge keepers at the table.
I hope that you will consider what role you have to play in helping us tackle the crisis of wildland fire in the north, because the Arctic isn't melting anymore, it's on fire.
Alexander also highlighted the Wildfires Initiative, sparked from the territory's record-breaking fires, along with previous fire records in Russia and Sweden.
We were grateful to see Russian participation at that meeting, and to hear them express their concern about the issue of wildland fires in the Arctic. And then we went to Norway.
So to southern Norway, and we just have it.
Indigenous access to country food and harvesting and wildlife management was also on the agenda, including Yukon and NWT members, alongside Sami and Greenland Inuit.
Food, our way of life, have been colonized to such a degree that our food has been criminalized on many levels, to such a degree that to this day we are still fighting many big entities, the UN, the EU, on rights for to be able to sell sealskin, for example, which we have an abundance of. I even heard someone call them the rats of the sea at some point, because there was too many and they were eating our fish, and fish is our main industry to the rest of the world.
Icelandic youth said they were moved by not realizing the impact European policies has on banning seal products to coastal Indigenous well-being.
How she was talking about the relationship with Denmark, how that has affected their just culture and hunting and heritage, and how their knowledge has passed on or not passed on. Yeah, that really stood out to me. Just, if I'm completely honest, I didn't know a lot or think a lot about Indigenous communities or people before I started my studies.
I loved seeing the youth panel, especially that they always, when they were addressing the room, they would always speak in their native languages. I loved hearing that. And how some of them even were said they were reconnecting maybe to their culture. You remember how much you love this world and how much you want to protect it, and just how we can do it from so many different perspectives also, I think. A lot of not just academic knowledge, like us coming from our studies, we have so much to learn from others who've been doing this for millennia, in a way.
People who have been traumatized by boarding schools and not to speak the language.
The urgency of Indigenous language preservation was also represented, including of Western Arctic Dinji Zhu Gwich'in. Brandon Kikavicic of Old Crow, Yukon, spoke on the panel Saturday.
I like how descriptive our language is. The nature of the polysynthesis in our language, it's very efficient, and it allows a lot of information to be injected into your brain instantly, especially if you know indicators, like Shri Nikwani I prepared it once or I fixed it up once. Our language is too difficult to structure in the curriculum, but immersion is not enough to create fluency. That is the major conundrum that we were facing. If you would imagine that English is a castle, if you want to learn our language, you have to come out of that castle. You have to step out of that highly structured environment. You have to walk up to that ocean. You have to dip your toe in and get it wet. Then you got to wade into it. And then after that, you just have to lay in it and just feel the fluidity of it and just completely let go of all that structure.
The assembly closed with arts and design showcases, including Norwegian Sami fashion designers.
Each Gopmi piece has like a unique Sami story to it. And with these outfits, we are telling stories through the material, because this is made out of reindeer leather. Reindeer herding is a well-known Sami tradition, which is something we wanted to highlight with these clothes.
The co-founder says Gopmi outsources reindeer hide from Finland and uses decolonizing and LGBTQS artwork.
For example, this embroidery is of a naked woman wearing a Sami women's horn hat that were once banished by mainstream society because they said that the devil lived inside the horn of it. So they called it the devil's hat. And it was banished, and now it's made a comeback, and a lot of Sami women are wearing it again.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's the same artist who drew this, but we wanted to make something for pride and at the same time being something Sápmi. So yeah, and she drew these naked guys, Sami guys. They're wearing like these Sami hats and chasing each other with a lasso, and with the reindeers in the background. And yeah, it's fun. It's been really rewarding because we see that people want this, and I think that it's because the time is right for a brand like this. People really want diversity, and they kind of connect to the value of that. I think so. It's like so much bigger than just a Sami brand.
For many, the assembly is preparation for December 3rd's United Nations Climate COP28 being held in Dubai. A priority to listen to the voices across the Arctic, living the climate crisis and the innovation and solutions found within. Next year's Arctic Circle Assembly is October 17th to 19th. Karli Zschogner, APTN National News, Reykjavik, Iceland.